the live photo that didn't freeze, the night his reflection kissed back. At 9:10 p.m., my phone decided to curate our love life without asking permission. "New memory for you," it announced with a smug little sparkle. The cover image was my partner Rafa's mouth caught mid-laugh, hair a little unruly from a day that had asked too much and promised more. Under the thumbnail, "Evening at Solace," and a precise suggestion of timing the app must have learned from God knows which integration. Solace is a rooftop spa. We only went once last winter when snow tried on perfume and the city lied about mercy. Rafa had left at 8 in the jacket that flatters him even when mirrors preach, kissed me with administrative tenderness and said, "Wrap toast." Then notes with Damien, "Don't wait." Damien does sound. He carries microphones like small animals that might bite and listens as if silence has tenure. The cinnamon thing warming in our oven did its best impression of stability. The light on our wall climbed obediently in squares and refused to narrate me. Curiosity is a cheap appetite. I fed it anyway. I pressed the memory and my screen bubbled open into 5 photos and 2 live photos stitched with the algorithm's enthusiasm for meaning. I swiped through quickly at first. The blue edge of a pool, a low candle on the stone. Rafa turned 3/4 toward a skyline performing competence. Then the first live photo pulsed under my thumb, the tiny concentric circle that means motion will confess itself if you press. For a fraction of a second the image breathed. Rafa's shoulder shifted, his laugh finished, and he lifted his hand. In the far glass wall that makes Solace such an expensive trick I saw clearly as a confession, the silhouette of a taller man leaning in. The mouth I don't know, the motion I do. It was only a smear of a kiss in reflection, a brief argument between light and glass, and then the still frame reasserted itself, clean as thought. Live photo, my phone explained as if the world needed footnotes. I played it again. Then again with my heart turned down, the audio low enough to pretend the sound was an accident. There is a gravity to the fraction of a second truth. It weighs more than speeches. And the app, not one to miss a scene change, had titled the last still image favorite. I put on the jacket that knows how to mind its own business. The cinnamon sighed like a friend who's heard this monologue before and intends to stay anyway. Solace sits on the 12th floor of a building that likes to pretend glass is a conscience. The elevator wrote my name backward and forced me to practice a face that can pass inspection. At the desk, a woman with a practiced smile and lemon for oxygen asked if I needed a robe. "Just air," I said. She nodded like that was an amenity. The pool ran in a thin, bright sentence along the glass. Cabanas pretended to be excuses. The city performed distance outside the windows. I didn't find Rafa, not immediately. I found the place from the live photo, the corner where the glass behaves like a page if you know how to read mirrors. The right bench wore a slant of light like a memory trying to be useful. The reflection of an empty cabana held the ghost of someone else's evening. Behind me, the steam room exhaled, and a handful of men came out blinking like conspirators learning how to be citizens again. Rafa walked among them with the care of someone returning an instrument he had almost broken. Damien was beside him, towel over his shoulder in the sacramentally casual way people in this industry handle intimacy. Rafa saw me first because my body is fluent to him. Surprise arrived like weather and tried to pass for logistics. "I thought you'd gone to bed," he said, my name not included, as if saying it would pull canvas off a painting. "The app thinks we made a memory," I said, because humor is the leash I use to keep panic from bolting. I held up the phone. The tiny circle pulsed. The fraction of a second mouth in the glass leaned again and the world did exactly what it had already done. Damien looked once, at the screen and then at me the way professionals look at anything that can be mixed, calibrated, or turned off. "I can give you to the roof," he said, voice precise, a clean fade or slide. He took his towel and drifted toward the far chairs, neither apologizing nor daring me. Competence makes for decent exits. "Not here," Rafa said quietly, eyes flicking at the camera pearl tucked inside a lamp like a moon with HR. He tipped his head toward the outdoor staircase, a ribbon of metal that leads to the smaller deck with the cold plunge and the kind of fern that forgives nothing. "There's air." On the upper deck, the city tried on sincerity. Traffic made its grammar and stuck to it. The wind behaved like a witness with discretion. Rafa leaned on the railing and let the cold choose him. Steam rose off his skin like a contract learning to be ether. "I lied when I left," he said. He doesn't waste adjectives when he intends to be correct. Rap happened. People did their best grammar on goodbye. I wanted 30 minutes where being interesting didn't have to pass inspection. Damien asked the kind of question that makes silence feel like an accomplice, and I mistook that for permission. "Did you touch him?" There isn't a scenic route around a cliff. You count to 1 and you make your mouth earn its keep. "Once," he said, clean, immediate. "With my mouth." He stopped me. His breath made a cloud the color of rehearsal. He told me I was saying the sentence in the wrong room. The wind pressed the fabric of his towel against the small of his back. It's a place his body keeps its best arguments. I stepped close. Cold is the easiest sin to fix. I lifted 2 fingers to the soft inside of his wrist where men keep their apologies and felt his pulse write my name there without permission. His eyes closed like doors that expect hands. My palm landed on heat that had done the work of staying alive. It recognized me. "You like wanting that proves something kindness can't," I said. "I didn't make it cruel. Cruelty is lazy precision. You treat intimacy like a sport and honesty like off-season training." "You like to coach," he said, managing the smallest real smile, the one that moves furniture. "Which is unfair and also why we still have furniture." "What do you want?" I asked. "Right now, not the apology you drafted for daylight." He stepped into the inch that becomes a lie if you respect it too long. Heat crossed cotton the way facts cross bridges. He spoke close enough that punctuation found my lower lip. "I want to go home," he said, voice steady. "I want you to want me where our towels remember us and desire doesn't need an album." We didn't kiss there. A camera has a memory and so do we. I rested my thumb at the hinge of his jaw. The place truth keeps a spare key. And we went back inside to gather the kind of dignity you can fold. Damien had arranged absence with professional grace. On the tile by the exit, he had placed 2 bottles of water in a posture that implied he believes hydration solves everything, but also understands it doesn't. He lifted a hand in a small salute of competence and let the door swing shut between us and his capacity for being a better man than a story deserves. On the walk home, the city minded its business with more skill than most people. We took the long way because short routes cheat. At the apartment, the cinnamon had kept faith beyond the call of sugar. We ate it at the counter with our fingers because forks would have lied. He leaned against the drawer that sticks, the posture that means he is willing to be moved and wants me to be precise about where. I slid my palm under his shirt and found heat like an address that still prints both our names on the mail. He tipped into me, gratitude giving him weight and accuracy. We were careful in bed, not the kind of careful that kills heat, the kind that knows where to fold it so the room doesn't have to testify. He knows where to place his hand on my ribs so the rest of me turns without issuing a press release. I know where his shoulder hides when it runs out of brave, and how to coax it into telling the truth with weight and breath, and a mouth that has stopped trying to rescue him and still wants him. I won't draw you the choreography. I will tell you the room remembered to breathe. and morning forgave us because it had other work. We slept like people who are not finished. Light shouldered the blinds with the confidence of a suggestion. He made coffee the way he does when he wants me to listen. My phone lay between us like a witness who misunderstands jurisdiction. On its screen, the memory offered a tidy share with loved one, as if the verb belonged to a marketing department. He started with small truths because small truths keep larger ones upright. I liked the way he listens, Rafa said. I liked feeling like quiet had a plan. I wanted a sentence that didn't have our history at the end of it. He told me the sentence belonged to our kitchen, not his mouth. Do you want to be here? I asked, making sure the verb stayed present. Yes, he said, to be boring with you on purpose, to put the heat where the towels remember us, to let my mouth earn coffee. We made boring plans because boring is how you keep lives from becoming memorabilia. We turned off memories for shared locations in the photo app, disabled include live photos in automatic compilations, and wrote if one of us craves 30 minutes of attention that isn't from the other, call it craving, not crisis. Walk it by the river. Spend it on pastry mean enough to bully your mouth on a sticky note we stuck to the inside of the flour jar. It isn't romantic. It's maintenance. It's oil for the hinge that keeps the door from learning to shout. 2 afternoons later, I ran into Damien under an awning that smells like ambition and lemon, the city's favorite lie. He gave me the nod men use when they've chosen to be furniture on purpose. He didn't apologize and I didn't deputize. We stood beside a stack of flight cases that believed in weight. I'm not asking for credit, he said. He kissed me once. I told him he was saying the sentence in the wrong room. I like my bed for sleeping and his mornings to belong to you. You could have said nothing, I said. You could have decorated the worst, he said. This is cheaper for both of us. He looked at the street as if sound had a visible grammar. You don't need my testimony, but if it steadies you, nothing worth deleting happened. It steadies, I said and meant it. Not absolution, just a floor. We did not become friends. We became men with a shared interest in someone else's better decision. There are worse treaties. A week later at 9 to 10 again, as if the hour had applied for tenure, the photo app tried to sell me a featured live photo with confetti. I held up my phone across the room and Rafa, half laughing, actually laughing, said, "Tell it no." I pressed and held until feature less like this learned how to be a sentence. On certain nights when the city forgets to be clever, his mouth finds mine with the urgency thunderstorms claim and the patience laundry requires. We stay just on the lawful side of the line because good heat doesn't need choreography to be true. When it's done with us, when we are done with it, he rests his palm at the small of my back like a bookmark that has always known the right page. Sometimes my phone still suggests albums titled Evenings Together. I don't trust them. I trust the square of light at 4 when it climbs our wall like an idea that finally put on shoes. I trust the bowl that catches our phones like obedient coins. If a live photo ever again tries to prove that a fraction of a second can outweigh a kitchen, if a reflection leans where it shouldn't, and a chorus of pixels asks me to be brave, I know the script we intend to prefer. I'll look at him and he'll look at me and we'll decide, quietly, domestically, with the stubborn mercy of people who keep choosing, to side with the room where we cook over the roof where cameras applaud, our chipped mugs over someone else's linen, this particular door learning, over and over, to open from the inside. 2 small footnotes, because lives adore encores. First, I changed his contact from Rafa to Rafa, home. Hyphens don't perform miracles, they do administrative grace. When my hand forgets itself at 3:17, the dash persuades it to set the phone down and reach for an actual man. Second, I kept the original live photo, the one that didn't freeze when it should have and told us what a reflection can do. Not to punish us, to remember the hinge where the knight swung. A tidy rectangle proving that sometimes glass tries to learn our language, and that, if we are stubborn enough, we can answer it in the only room that matters, with mouths that know which sentences to say.